What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. It's a beautiful day in the garden today, and I'm so excited to talk about today's episode because in today's episode, we're gonna be talking all about early blight. Where does it come from? How do your plants get it? And what is it, as well as how to remedy it? So all of that is gonna be crammed into today's video, so buckle up, get ready, because I am excited. So the first thing that I wanna talk about is what is early blight and where does it come from? So what is early blight? Early blight is one of three different blights that your plants can get. Blight is a fungus that comes from the soil. It's a soil-borne fungus. And so all soils have it. Pretty much every soil around the entire world has some form of blight spores. So it's not something that you have to panic. It's very common. It might seem like it's taking over the world, but it's been here for as long as plants have been around. Blight spores have also been around because blight is actually a fungus. Fungus needs a host plant to feed off of. Fungus actually has little roots called hyphae, and they actually embed themselves into plant material, and they actually will feed off of the host plant because they can't photosynthesize themselves. And so blight is just like any other fungus or mushroom in that it will actually attach itself to a surface and feed. And so this blight comes from the soil, and like I said, there are three different types of blight. There's early blight, there is septoria blight, and there is late blight. Now, these three different types of blights they're basically in the same family of blight, meaning that they are a leaf colonizing fungus, and they can all affect tomato plants. So now that you know what it is and where it comes from, I really want to talk about some easy remedies. So the first thing I want to talk about, though, is that it is everywhere. A lot of people say, well, if it's everywhere, how can I prevent it? Can I do crop rotations? Can I just not compost my tomato plants? All these things you hear on these blogs. A lot of people like to throw around very simple, easy ways to remove blight from your garden. When the fact of the matter is the fact that it is everywhere. It is in all soil, all soil. And when it's in all soil, it means that no matter what you do, you're going to encounter it. And if you decide to compost your tomato plants, composting them will have no effect on increasing the amount of blight found in the soil because it was already in the soil to begin with. And so that blight just basically stays there. It stays dormant until soil splashes up on the plant. Then that fungus can actually take hold on the surface of the leaf, and that's how it grows. Very similarly, and we'll get into another episode later about powdery mildew, but powdery mildew is the same exact concept. It's a different type of leaf fungus, but it's found in the soil. And a lot of people say, well, don't compost powdery mildew, you'll get it again next year. If you don't compost it, if you just burn the squash plants or burn the tomato plants, you're still gonna get it again next year. Hate to say it, it's just true. So with that being said, it's something you can't really crop rotate out. It's something that you can still compost. A lot of people think I'm crazy for composting my tomato plants, but once you realize just how prevalent it is, how common it is, it actually kind of gets your mindset off of, all right, I'm gonna try to prevent this at all costs, and really just focus on ways to mitigate the chances of getting it or reducing the damage that it can take on your plants if you do get it, because you will get it at some point. If your plants don't get early blight, they can get some other form of blight, like late blight. You will encounter blight at some point in your gardening career every season. Just you wait, don't you worry. All right, so with that being said, let's talk about ways to actually mitigate it, because that's the next thing that you can really control. So the first way that you can control early blight, is by not planting your plants so early. Blight, no matter if it's late blight or early blight, favors damp and cool conditions. That's why when you plant your plants out in the early season, when the nights are still in the mid 40s to low 40s, maybe even high 40s, anywhere in the 40s range is still considered pretty cool at night, and the plants themselves have a higher chance of getting dew, because when the nights are very cold, dew settles on the grass and the leaves and stuff like that. And because that cool air brings with it humidity and dampness, it can settle on your leaves and you end up getting a lot of moisture, which is damp plus cool, and that's a favorable place for fungus to grow. So by not planting your plants out so early and waiting a few weeks for the growing conditions to warm up, that's gonna be ideal for reducing the chance of getting early blight. The second way that you can reduce early blight is by pruning up your tomato plants. So if I bring you guys in close here, I guess I can probably do that. I don't have any early blight right now, and I rarely do get it just because of how warm and how fast things warm up here in Michigan. It's just something that we always usually get late blight, and we rarely get early blight. It has happened from time to time, but we don't get it. So I'll still bring you guys in close because we still do make a practice of pruning up our tomato plants because it does increase airflow, it does reduce the chance of disease, and it does just make your plant overall healthier. So I'll bring you in close to show you what I'm talking about with pruning up your tomato plants, because this is the simplest way, besides just planting later in the season, to just reduce overall disease on your plant. And it's very, very simple. All right, check it out. All right, here, so I've got a beautiful tomato plant, but what you'll notice is that there's a lot of leaves touching the ground. Remember, blight is a soil-borne fungus. And so if you have leaves touching the soil, that is basically a pathway, a highway for the blight to get onto the leaves of your plant. So very simply, all you have to do is come through here and prune off all these lower leaves so that there's nothing touching the soil. It's very, very simple, takes almost no time at all, and it's just basic plant maintenance that we come out here, we do this probably once a week or so, and we just prune the plant up, keep the leaves off of the soil, and that way those older leaves that might be more stressed, or even the younger leaves that might be touching the soil, those leaves are all going to be away from the source of the fungus, and they're going to be off the ground. And also when you prune them off the ground, it's going to increase airflow so that air is in here drying the leaves out if they happen to get damp. The more leaves you have all clustered up together, the higher chance of water and moisture staying on the surface of the leaf, which is basically where blight really likes to live. So very, very simple to do. Again, just come in here and prune off those leaves, and you're going to be good. Now, I know a lot of you are going to ask this, and that's, Luke, what if I'm not single stemming? What if I'm actually caging my tomatoes? No, pruning your plants does not have anything to do with the type of supporting method that you choose for your tomato plants. Pruning them should be something you do no matter what. If you're caging them, if you're staking them, if you're Florida weaving them, it doesn't really matter. Even if you're just letting them kind of just grow and sprawl, you should still be pruning the lower leaves, the older leaves that are coming the closest to the soil. It's just a good plant care habit or chore that you should do when you come out into the garden. And I do this every single time I come out into the garden. I just always make sure that I'm keeping any old leaves or young leaves away from the surface of the soil. It doesn't matter if they're young, if they're old, if they're big, if they're small, if they're touching the soil, they gotta go. Okay, so you planted later in the season, you pruned the plants up. What's next? What's another care tip that you can do to reduce early blight? And simply how you water. So we just talked about with pruning your plants up that the reason why you prune them up is to reduce splashing onto the leaves. Well, conversely, when you water, you want to reduce how much water splashes onto the leaves. And I know a lot of people, they just kind of want to carelessly water their plants. And I say carelessly, not because you don't care, but it's just a lot of times people don't think about how they water and how their watering habits affect their overall plant health. And so in that sense, it's a little bit careless. And I can definitely, I fall into this category. So I can call myself careless because I really didn't know and I was not very careful of how I was watering. And when you water, it's very important that you water the base of the plant as close as you can. Don't hold the watering can a mile from the ground. It's not going to do any good. Don't hold the water, don't turn the hose on jet mode and just blast it with water just because it has the highest flow rate. The higher the flow rate just means the more soil can be displaced because the more water is streaming out of that tiny little nozzle. And so the tinier the nozzle, the higher the flow rate, the more velocity that water is going to have, and it's just going to erupt and splatter and spray. So the closer you go to the soil and the gentler the stream of water is, the more kind of just a soaking and drenching that it'll have on the soil, which will actually be better overall because it's going to be way more direct with where you want the water to be, rather than just kind of shotgun approaching your watering and watering things like weeds, watering things like soil that doesn't have any plants growing. You're really going to be more direct anyways, so it just happens to be a better watering habit, but it also will lend itself to having a healthier plant overall. So how you water can play a big role in just affecting overall plant health and reducing early blight. The fourth way that you can control early blight, and one that I don't particularly use but I've seen work with very good results, and that's by using what they call a tree skirt method. Now, I think a lot of you have seen those Christmas tree skirts that you put around the base of Christmas trees when you bring them in your house to prevent needles dropping on the ground. Same exact thing applies with your tomato plants. Simply take a garbage bag, cut it halfway down the center, and just use that as a tree skirt about, around the base of your plant, just simply during the times when early blight is most prevalent. In the beginning of the season, when you first plant, up until the nights are kind of out of their 50s. Once the nights are out of their 50s, you're typically fine. I don't want to say you're 100% fine, but typically you're very, very safe to remove the tree skirt method after that point. And it's very cheap, it's very simple to do, it's very quick, and it's something that is very effective because it essentially it removes all of the chances of splashing to happen. Now, the caveat to that is that you have to go in and water. You have to hand water or get water to the plant in some way, because there's no way for the water to come and actually penetrate the soil, because it's going to bounce off of the plastic rather than the soil, and that also reduces the amount of splashing that the soil splashes up on your leaves. So it's very effective, but it does have its downsides in that you have to come back and hand water, manually water your plants until you get through that season of risk. Now, you can use things like weed fabric. I've seen that used as well. It's just the most common and cheap method that everybody typically has are garbage bags. You don't have to use black either. You could use white, blue, red, orange, doesn't matter. Any color of garbage bag, it does not matter. It's just really nice because it's a square shape, covers a good area. You can cut it down the center with scissors, wrap it around your plant, weigh it down with some rocks or some little tent stakes or something like that so it doesn't blow away, and you're fine. Very, very simple, very effective. All right, now the fifth and final way that you can reduce early blight in your garden is by picking genetics that are just hardier and more disease resistant. So there are lots of tomatoes that exist out there that are just hardier and less prone to getting early blight than others. Now, you can go the route of hybrids. Hybrids are very reliable because they have been grown and bred for certain traits, and you can pick out traits that are very disease resistant that are going to do very well in your garden. However, here in our garden, we don't grow any hybrids, we only grow heirlooms. And so I want to give you three that we've grown that are very, very disease resistant when it comes to early blight. Now, the first one is Rutgers. The Rutgers tomato was bred by Rutgers University. It was bred for the hot, humid climates of the South, where no matter what you do, you're still going to be in this hot, sticky, muggy climate, and you need a tomato that can handle that. And so the Rutgers tomato was actually bred from the Celebrity and the Ace 55 tomato, and they got a hybrid that then they basically stabilized, so it became an heirloom over time. And so it started out once as a hybrid, and it was just dehybridized into an heirloom that is very stable, very delicious, super great, prolific producer, amazing flavor, but very disease resistant when it comes to early blight. And the second tomato that we've grown is Paul Robson. Now, the Paul Robson tomato, oh, please, son, go behind a cloud. It's so bright, so hot. Oh my goodness, it's like 85 degrees out here. I'm getting blasted by like the Death Star. It's nuts. So, much better. So the Paul Robson is a classic kind of brown burgundy tomato grown over in England. It's a very classic tomato, very low acid, super sweet, amazing flavor, but also very disease resistant when it comes to early blight. The third tomato that you can grow that's very disease resistant when it comes to early blight is called the Perrin sprayless tomato. Now, the Perrin sprayless tomato was grown in the 70s, and it was actually grown to be very disease resistant. And it was also another one of those ones, much like Rutgers, that was it was hybridized, but then dehybridized through just growing it year after year and stabilizing the genetics, and it became an heirloom. And now you can grow it in an heirloom garden, and you can save the seeds from year to year. It's very consistent, and it's an amazing tomato that is very, very disease resistant. Those are the 5 ways that you can reduce early blight in your garden. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. Sorry about the sunlight. Not a whole lot I can do about it, but my camera's maxed out. I can't turn the ISO down anymore, and I can't turn the f-stop up anymore. It's so unbelievably bright today. So bear with me because I'm frying it out for you guys. So remember to like this video, subscribe if you're not yet already. I hope you guys did enjoy. Hopefully you learned something new. Share with a friend if you think they'd enjoy it as well. That helps spread our videos around, and it's always an honor when you entrust your friend's time with our videos as well as your friend's garden with our videos. It means a lot. So as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel reminding you to grow big or go home, and we'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.